Alright guys, welcome to the Dark Knight Show, and today we are going to look at the game played by Magnus Carlsen versus Arjun Erigaisi in 2023 Tata Steel Chess Championship, and this was played in round 13. And how did the game go? So Arjun plays the move knight to f3, develops the knight. Magnus develops his knight. Okay, very good. Let's see how the game went. Arjun plays g3 with the idea to fianchetto. Very good. Magnus fianchettos his light squared bishop with b6 with the idea to go bishop b7. Okay, let's go forward. Develops the bishop. Very good. Castle. Magnus decides to double fianchetto and plays g6, bishop out. So goes g6. Alright, very good. c4, bishop out. d4. In the meantime, white was grabbing space in the center. Very good. Castle. Plays d5. White moves the same pawn once again. Why? The reason was white wanted to block this bishop on b7. Alright, understandable. But there's a downside of this move. There's a good side, there's a downside. The downside is that it allows the knight to go to c5, and Magnus takes advantage of that right away. Plays knight a6 and goes to the c5 square. Very good. Arjun plays knight out to c3, very good. Magnus gets the knight to c5, and of course this knight couldn't be harassed right away with pawn to b4 for obvious reasons, and the move that Magnus would play here would be knight to e4 and put pressure on the knight. If Arjun would take this knight, then suddenly trouble. This knight would fall, and not just that, later the pawn would fall and then the rook would fall. So overall, at the end, black would be ahead materially even after giving up the knight, because black gets the rook in return. So that's why b4 was not a good move for white. So what did Arjun play? Arjun plays a knight to d4. Alright, and here what did Magnus play? Magnus played pawn to e5 to attack this knight. So a question might appear: what happens if white takes the pawn? Using the rule en passant, you must be aware of the rule, right? Simply, black would take back because this bishop was already protected by the knight, so no problem. And how it would benefit black? It would benefit black because this pawn was blocking this bishop. So trading this pawn for this pawn here would be a good idea. That's why Magnus plays pawn to e5. So what did white do? White went back with the knight. Alright, now Magnus plays a5 to stop pawn to b4. Understandable. b3 just to develop the bishop. Alright, e4 grabbing space by Arjun. Very good. Magnus's bishop was blocked by the pawn, so bishop goes back to c8 and bishop would do something on this line. Also, the position is closed, so now from here onwards, guys, we will see flank attack, because since the center is closed, according to chess principle, now attack will shift towards the flank, the corner of the chessboard, like this. This is where the attack will happen. So let's see how the game continues. Let's fast forward. So here, knight goes to a3, understandable. Magnus goes back with the knight to go f5 and grab space. Let's go forward. Knight b5, bishop d7, rook b1, f5. Alright, attacking this part of the board. Very good, let's continue. f3 protect, f4 grabbing more space and closing down the position even more. Magnus is planning to launch a pawn storm on this part of the board. That's the idea. a3 with the idea to go b4. Okay, very good. g5 grabbing more space. Okay, excellent work by Magnus. b4 trying to kick the knight. So Arjun is trying to attack the queen side, Magnus is trying to attack the king side. We can clearly observe that. So here goes back for the knight because the knight was getting hit. g4, Arjun tries to close down the position on this part of the board and he wants to attack the queen side. So let's see how the game continues. Magnus is determined to attack, plays h5. If Arjun would take, then Magnus would go king here and pick up the pawn. So taking the pawn is not a good idea. So Arjun protects the pawn. Rook goes to f7, king goes to f2, bishop goes back to f8. Magnus is prepping to put his rook somewhere here to attack, of course. Rook goes to g1, rook goes to h7, very good. Now moves the knight, very good. Queen c8, putting pressure on this pawn. Alright. Rook b2, just to shift the rook on this part of the board. Okay, alright. Knight goes to d8, trying to shift more pieces towards the king side, as we can see. Magnus trying that. Alright, moves the knight. As you can see, slowly Magnus is putting his forces on work on this part of the board. Okay, let's go forward. Arjun, in the meantime, trying to run away with the king. Understandable, because the firework is going to start on this part. It's not a good idea to keep the white king on this part of the board. So the king is trying to run away on this part. Let's go forward. Bishop goes to e7. Trade happens. Okay, very good. Another trade happens and opens the line for both of the rooks. Very good work by Magnus. And at some point, Magnus would plan to sacrifice on that square so that these two pawns will roll. Let's see how the game continues. Let's go forward. Magnus enters with the rook, then enters with the other rook. Fantastic play by Magnus. Rook blocks, trades, Magnus trades both of the rooks, and let's see how it continues. And he sacrifices the knight for a couple of pawns. Why does he do that? Because these two are very strong passed pawns, and Magnus is going to use these two pawns to win the game. Let's fast forward from here. Bishop goes forward, and the idea is to push his pawns. That's what Magnus is trying to do. Pawn goes to g4, grabbing space and going forward to promote. Alright, bishop goes here to pin the knight, and of course, at some point, this is going to happen. Queen goes here, bishop goes back because queen was attacking the bishop, so bishop runs away. Bishop goes to g6, knight goes to g5, Magnus is slowly marching his pieces forward. Knight goes back, bishop goes to f3, pins the knight. King goes up, wins a tempo, bishop moves, hits the queen, so queen needs to move. Queen goes here, and now the queen will try to infiltrate. So Arjun very well understood that allowing black to march his pawns forward would finish off the game very quickly. So he decides to sacrifice the piece back for a couple of pawns. But still, Magnus's position is better. He has a very good passed pawn. The bishop will go here. The queen is super active. Magnus's position is still better. Let's see how the game finished. Bishop goes to f6, hitting the knight. Queen moves. Knight goes back, heading towards the outpost. Alright, queen goes here to enter on a1. Bishop and queen combining together on a1, very good. e5, took the pawn. Bishop goes back. So Arjun sacrificed the pawn just so that the bishop would be blocked, so that there would be no queen going to a1. Well, a pawn sacrificed by Arjun. Knight goes to d6, offering trade. Arjun checks. King moves. Trades, very good. Bishop goes to g5, offering trade. Magnus not interested. Magnus wants to trade, but on his own terms. So goes queen to h8, very good. Bishop goes back. Arjun averts the trade. e4 just moves the pawn, opens bishop and queen battery on this line, and this pawn is of course protected by the bishop. So here, yes, of course it was a pawn sacrifice. The pawn taken by Arjun. Let's see how the game continued from here. Queen goes in, okay, and this pawn is going to be very difficult to stop. Let's see how the game continued. Bishop goes back, kicks the queen. Queen moves away. b5. Arjun trying to promote this pawn. Let's see if Arjun succeeds or not. And here, Magnus plays check, and Arjun resigned right away. Let's try to find out why Arjun resigned. What's the problem with blocking with the queen? Let's see how the game would continue. And Magnus would go queen to a3, threatening checkmate here. And if Arjun would play queen to a2, avoiding the checkmate, it wouldn't solve the problems, because then Magnus would have a check. Of course, if queen blocks, it's checkmate, so Magnus would need to move the king somewhere. Say the king would go here, but then the queen would enter with check, king would go forward, and queen would go to d1, checkmate, and the game would end. So Arjun resigned the moment Magnus played the move queen to d3 check, because he saw it all. It's forced checkmate in 8, no matter what white plays here, according to the computer. A beautiful finish. Now let's quickly take a look once again how the game happened quickly. So Magnus goes for double fianchetto. As we can see, Magnus was trying to play for a win. Alright, Castle takes advantage of the pawn structure and slides his knight to the beautiful c5 square. Alright, very good. And continues to grab space, and the moment he realized that the center was closed, he started to attack the flank. And continues to attack, and the critical point appears when Magnus decides to sacrifice his bishop on g4. First of all, he sacrificed the knight on g4 and took back with the bishop, and tries to use the 2 pawns to win the game. All right, and as we can see, Arjun tried to sacrifice back, but it didn't help him. It was all well planned by Magnus, well calculated, and Magnus was attacking from both ends. We can see how he was attacking from both ends when the center was closed. This is super instructive attack, super instructive game by Magnus, and Arjun loses the game. Fantastic play. Magnus gets third place in Tata Steel. He's a genius, of course. We're going to analyze even more games. And guys, if you would like to play against me on chess.com, you know it. My chess.com handle is Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Show. Make sure to drop me on a follow. Make sure to send me an email if you want chess lessons, and I'll be playing with the subscribers. So just let me know whenever you want to play, and we'll play. I stream a lot as well on Twitch. My handle is Invisible Chess. I'll pin down my link in the comment, and make sure to follow there. And I'm playing the viewers all the time on Twitch, so see you there. And thanks so much for watching. You have a wonderful day ahead. Bye bye for now.